Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to work on this Commodore 128D, which is looking very grim. The keys are very dirty and yellowed. There is dust inside and out. I did check the power supply to see whether, fuses are there and the capacitors are okay. Also, learning from the previous one, I did check the case inside whether there are any metal parts lying around, just to make sure we're not creating any short circuit and with that some sort of fireworks, which would be bad. So we're going to turn it on, see whether it works or not, and after that we're going to clean it and restore it, and yeah, let's get to it. So what I will do, I will turn off the lights. So I will leave it running to see if anything happens. At least there is evidence of it. But then I will turn that on so the reflection will stop, and then this one can record the screen so we can see together what's on there. Right. So dark mode. Okay, let's do this first. Nothing blew up yet. Don't hear high voltage one. Okay, before we do anything, it seems we need to service the monitor. Highly unexpected outcome. Highly unexpected. So yeah. Right. So the neutral wire became undone somehow in the last couple of months. So we're gonna fix that one. I also noticed that the plug itself is very dirty and it needs cleaning. As a matter of fact, the whole monitor needs cleaning, so we're gonna do that later on. Ooh, high voltage and green light. So we are going to turn on the computer as well. So switch should be here. So it either goes pop or something. Okay. So the computer actually does boot up, but the keyboard doesn't respond to any of the keys. So eventually I was able to see some key responses, but it's all garbled, and then if you press a single key, it sometimes types in full command like dsave, list or graphics. So yeah, something is absolutely wrong here. So the good news is that the computer works, which is really great, because that's one less problem. The bad news is that 80% of the keyboard is not responding. Now, whether this is a keyboard issue, cable or connector issue, or indeed maybe a motherboard problem, I don't know. But we will figure this out. We will clean everything up, and then we will see where we are at that point. So let's do cleaning. But before we do that, I want to show you the computer in a close-up. So the keyboard, as you can see, it's very dirty. The keys are absolutely disgusting, and they're even sticky. And you can see the contrast here between the case and the keyboard, at how much yellow the keyboard is. The cable is absolutely filthy, and the connector itself is the same. And the computer isn't any better really. The plastic is scratched up, the metal is scratched so deep that you can clearly see the metal shining through. It's all dusty and sticky, and it's disgusting to even to touch. Inside I found this mesh stick, which looks awful, and the board is very dusty itself. I cleaned the spot here with my finger so you can see the difference. But there is spider web, and there is dust bunnies, and well, it's looking bad. So to properly clean everything, we need to disassemble the computer, and I start with the power supply. So this is the Commodore 128D CR, which means cost reduced version. So this has been released in 1987 and it has been heavily optimized. So some say these are the best versions of the 128 actually. Overall, the 128 was a moderate success. They sold over 4 million units. But the issue was that very limited software was available for the 128 itself. It was able to run in Commodore 64 mode, and then developers took advantage of that. So rather than working towards the 128 capabilities, they just kept creating applications for the 64, as it will always run on the 128 anyway. So the inside of the keyboard is bad, but it's okay, it can be handled. It's quite dirty. So this is an unusual before and after picture. You can see how it looked like before and how it looks after being yellowed. You can also see the color of the keyboard inside, so this is what it should be, and this is how it looks like now. I checked the conductivity of the plungers, and also I'm checking the cable and also the traces on the board, just to make sure that everything is in working order. keys are cleaned, so they are ready for the RetroBrite process, and I will put them in a bag and apply the green peroxide around it, and then they go under UV light. So this is some old glue residue. It is very hard, and it baked itself to the plastic, so there was no other way but to scratch it away, sadly. I did try to protect the plastic as much as possible. The keyboard case is now clean, so it's ready for its RetroBrite bath under 430 watt UV light for a couple of days. For some reason I found this the most satisfying part when I clean the cables and also the connectors, because it just feels so much better to look at it or touch it. You will see in a second. So again, I'm using toothpaste to clean the plastic. This has abrasive parts, so it helps removing the dust and dirt, but it's not as strong as some other chemicals. Using a toothbrush obviously helps, and I think it looks good now. So here is the cleaned board and the cable as well. I think this is looking now much better than before, and I'm especially proud of the connector. It feels so much so much different. Now it was time to clean the case, but here toothpaste didn't do much, so I needed to use baking soda, and obviously it cleans it brilliantly, so it's really good, and yeah, I'm quite happy with that. Also, I needed to undust the board first and then remove the rest with compressed air. I'm going to use a anti-static cleaner foam, which I can brush around and then remove the rest, and then the board now looks much better, as if new. I decided to fully disassemble the drive in order to be able to properly clean it and clean the head, and also apply some grease on the rails. After everything has been cleaned, it was time to put it back together again. This is, I think, one of my favorite parts. It's time to put this guy back on, but I totally forgot to RetroBrite this one. And here is the final result. As you can see, the difference is really day and night, how it was before and how it is now. However, there is a problem. The discoloration is is still present. I mean, as you can see, the arrow to the right is light gray, but the arrow to the left is still somewhat yellowed, and the arrow down is gray-ish, and then the arrow up is more yellow. And the same can be seen here between the F5 and the F7 keys. And as if that wouldn't be bad enough, we can also see marbling on the keyboard keys as well. So yeah, I'm pretty frustrated by this now. So here, let me show you this one. It seems like that this keyboard has been damaged before and painted over. I don't know if you can see the edge of the damage, so let me highlight it for you here. But this might explain the marbling. I mean, if this keyboard has been painted over by some sort of paint before, that could actually prevent the peroxide to penetrate the paint and restore the case original color. So yeah, I'm not entirely sure what I should do. Maybe I would need to sand it down and then repaint it myself, or maybe just put it back into the peroxide bath for a few more days and then hope for a better outcome. Not entirely sure yet. But overall, I think it looks much better even with the marbling accounted for. As you can see, the case is whiter, the keys are whiter, the keyboard case is whiter, the cable looks much better. So yeah, it's time to turn it on again and see how it works. Okay, we've got the screen up and running. So now the question is, do we have a keyboard working? Okay, something isn't quite as much as I wanted. So both T and U sending screen clear. I mean, X is sending the command run. C goes for monitor. SITREP. So the MOS 5710 CIA chip needs to be most likely replaced, because that's responsible for keyboard, joystick, and effectively also the disk drive. It has other various tasks as well, but the problem is the keyboard belongs to it, and so if I press, some of the keys are registering correctly, some of them are not. Now, could be multiple problems. I need to check the board as well for making sure that, you know, all traces are correct. Try to reseat some of the chips maybe on the board, and also the replace that chip. So I ordered one. It will take a while until it gets here, so I don't want to hold on to this project for now, at least. I would like to in the meantime do something else while the parts are arriving. It seems now this is a trend that we end up starting a project, most of it is being done, and then we still need to follow it up. So this one will get a second part where we're replacing the CIA chip, and then we're gonna check everything else. I also need to retrowrite this piece as well, because I forgot this one, so this needs to be done as well. So yes, there are still a few things to do with this lovely Commodore. It's not in a bad shape or position. I mean, it, you know, boots up, works. You can type in, some of the keys are actually appearing on the screen. You know, it follows the orders, it initiates the drive. So I think this is the usual, just a little bit of a problem, but if we can sort that out, and I'm sure we can, then we're good. So on that note, or on that disappointment, thank you very much for watching, and see you next time. Bye-bye.